Think about the last time you landed on a company's website. You click the link, the page loads, and instantly you're just hit with this massive wall of text.
Oh, yeah, a complete barrage of corporate buzzwords.
Right, like synergistic solutions or, industry-leading paradigms. And usually there's a giant photo of their office building.
Which, let's be honest, nobody actually cares about.
Exactly. You give it maybe 4 or 5 seconds, you realize you have no idea what they actually sell, your brain starts to hurt, and you just hit the back button.
Yep, the classic bounce.
And the thing is, you aren't being impatient. Your brain is simply wired to ignore confusing information. So today, we are taking a deep dive into exactly why that happens.
And more importantly, how to stop doing it to your own audience.
Right. Because we have excerpts and a summary of Donald Miller's best-selling book, Building a StoryBrand. And our mission today is to really extract his 7-part framework.
The SB7 framework, yeah.
Yeah, which completely reframes marketing through these timeless principles of storytelling. It's basically a roadmap to clarify your message, connect authentically, and just cut through all that digital noise.
Because there is so much noise right now.
So much. So, okay, let's unpack this. Because before we even look at the mechanics of marketing or the steps of the framework, we have to talk about ego.
Ego is the exact right place to start. I mean, the fundamental paradigm shift here, the thing you have to accept before anything else works, is realizing that the biggest mistake any business makes is positioning themselves as the hero of the story.
Which is such a natural instinct, right?
Oh, totally. You start a business, you're proud of it, you want to shout from the rooftops about how long you've been around, the awards you've won, how brilliant your team is.
Yeah, it's like, look at me, look at my shiny new product.
Exactly. But that completely violates how human psychology actually processes information.
Right, because, we are all the protagonists of our own lives. If I'm coming to your website, I'm already playing the role of the hero in my own head.
Right. You are looking for someone to help with your journey, not the other way around.
Exactly. So to visualize this, think of every great movie you've ever seen. Your brand isn't Luke Skywalker. Your brand is Yoda.
I love that analogy.
Right. You aren't the one climbing the mountain to throw the ring in the volcano. You are the Sherpa carrying the map.
Because if you come out swinging your lightsaber, trying to save the day for your own glory, the customer is just going to look at you as a rival. You're competing for the hero spot.
Which creates instant cognitive friction.
Yeah, and to understand the mechanism behind this, you really have to look at how the brain burns calories.
Oh, this part is fascinating.
It really is. The human brain is essentially a survival machine. It is constantly scanning the environment, filtering millions of data points and asking very basic questions.
Does this help me survive? Does this help me thrive?
Exactly. Or, does this solve my immediate problem? And if a brand is just talking about its own journey, the brain has to burn extra cognitive calories trying to figure out how that applies to them.
Right. It's like, wait, how does their award-winning office building help me save time on my accounting?
And the brain hates burning useless calories. It just absolutely refuses to do it. So it tunes out.
It hits the back button.
Yep. But by shifting the narrative focus to make the customer the hero, you align perfectly with their internal survival filter. The message instantly becomes relatable.
Okay, so if the customer is the hero and we are just the guide, how do we actually hook them? We can't just stand there and wait to be noticed.
No, you have to engage their specific reality. And according to the framework, that starts with steps 1 and 2. Identifying the character and articulating their problem.
But not just a surface-level problem, right? You have to speak to the pain points so accurately that the customer feels like you've been reading their diary.
That is the catalyst of any narrative. A story doesn't truly begin until the hero faces a challenge they cannot overcome on their own.
So in communication, identifying the problem is how you earn their attention.
Exactly. When you articulate a customer's frustration clearly, you validate their experience. You're basically saying, I see the obstacle in your path.
But pointing out the obstacle isn't enough, is it? Because step 3, the hero has to meet a guide. They need a reason to believe you can actually help them over that obstacle.
Right. And stepping into that guide role requires 2 very specific, deeply psychological traits: empathy and authority.
Those 2 fascinate me because getting the balance right is really a tightrope walk.
It is. It's tricky.
Empathy means understanding their fears. It's telling the customer, I know how exhausting it is to manage 50 remote employees across 4 time zones.
Yeah, let's use a B2B service as an example here.
Yeah.
Say you run an HR consultancy. Empathy is acknowledging the burnout the founder is feeling.
Right. But empathy alone just makes you a sympathetic friend. It doesn't mean you can fix the HR problem. So you need authority.
But authority is dangerous, right?
Because the moment you start flexing your authority, listing your credentials, bragging about your certifications, you risk slipping right back into playing the hero.
Exactly. And that is the trap most B2B companies fall into. They think authority means dominance. Like, look how smart we are.
When it doesn't mean that at all.
No. Authority, in the context of being a guide, means competence. It means proving you've successfully navigated this exact path before.
And the source material points out that the most powerful mechanism for this isn't a list of your Ivy League degrees, it's social proof.
Testimonials, case studies.
Yeah. Because when you present a case study of a similar customer who achieved success using your method, you aren't bragging about yourself.
You're providing evidence that your guidance works. It humanizes your brand. You've empathized with the hero's struggle, and you've quietly demonstrated the competence to get them out of it.
Okay, but empathy and authority still aren't enough to close a sale.
Not even close.
Because even if I trust you implicitly as a guide, if the path you point me down looks too steep or confusing, I'm still not walking down it. Buying implies risk. It requires effort. So how do you remove that cognitive friction?
Well, this brings us to step 4. You remove the friction by providing a shockingly simple plan.
Because the brain, again, wants to conserve energy.
Right. If a potential customer trusts you, but they don't know exactly what happens the moment they hand over their credit card, that ambiguity creates anxiety.
And anxiety kills conversions.
Every single time. The guide must offer a clear, actionable path that strips away all the mystery.
Okay, I have to push back here for a second.
Go for it.
What if what I'm selling is genuinely complex? Let's use a sauce example. Say I'm selling a massive enterprise-level software product. It integrates with legacy servers, requires massive team onboarding, data migration. It's a total beast.
Oh, those are tough.
Right. So if I try to boil that down to a simple 3-step plan, aren't my buyers going to think I'm oversimplifying? Don't they want the technical specs and the back-end coding?
They do want those details eventually, but absolutely not before they understand the macro path. Think of it like laying down stepping stones across a rushing, muddy river.
Okay, I like that.
You are the guide. The customer is terrified of falling into the river. If you start explaining the geological composition of the stones or the exact fluid dynamics of the water, they are going to stay frozen on the bank.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they'd be paralyzed.
Exactly. You don't hide the complexity,
Yeah.
but you abstract it into digestible phases.
So, like, step 1, we assess your current data. Step 2, we handle the seamless migration. Step 3, your team logs in and starts saving 20 hours a week.
Perfect. You are making the journey straightforward. You are communicating that you are invested in carrying the heavy lifting, removing the friction from their immediate decision.
I love that stepping stones analogy because once you lay those stones down, you have to actually ask them to cross the river.
It's tell them to move.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting. Step 5, you have to call them to action. And it's wild how many beautiful, well-designed websites or sales pitches entirely forget to actually ask for the sale.
They just lay the stones and stare at the customer.
It's so awkward.
It is. And this is the climax of the story. It requires absolute clarity. Without a well-defined call to action, or CTA, customers will just remain passive.
They'll consume your content, think it's nice, and move on.
Exactly. You have to challenge the hero to take the next step. And what's crucial to understand here is the distinction that text makes between a direct CTA and a transitional CTA.
Okay, let's break those down. A direct CTA is the ultimate destination, right?
It's the buy now, the schedule a consultation, the register today.
It needs to be a button, it needs to be obvious, and it needs to use active verb phrases. No passive learn more or get started.
Never use learn more. It sounds like homework.
It really does. But what about the people who aren't ready to marry you on the first date? Like, let's say I'm looking at a solo creator's website, maybe a fitness coach. If I just found their page 3 minutes ago, I might not be ready to drop $1,000 on their masterclass.
And that is exactly where the transitional CPA is a lifesaver. It's a lower stakes step. It's the let's get coffee before the marriage proposal.
So like a free PDF workout guide or a helpful meal prep template.
Exactly. It's an exchange of value for an email address.
Yeah.
It balances the urgency of the direct sale with the patience required for nurturing a relationship.
You are still guiding them, but at a pace they are comfortable with.
However, there is a missing ingredient here. A plan and a call to action are entirely meaningless if the hero doesn't care about the outcome.
Oh, the stakes.
A story without stakes is just a sequence of boring events. Why should the hero bother crossing the river at all?
Right. If Luke Skywalker just decides to stay on Tatooine and farm moisture, who cares? The Empire wins, but if the audience doesn't feel the devastating weight of that reality, the story is boring.
We have to establish the stakes, which brings us to steps 6 and 7.
And this is a dual strategy, right?
Well,
You articulate the success of taking action, but you also vividly paint the failure of doing nothing.
yes, the carrot and the stick.
Showcasing the positive results, the saved time, the increased revenue, the peace of mind, that's the carrot. But the stick is equally, if not more, important.
What's fascinating here is the behavioral economics behind why the stick is so effective. Human beings are deeply motivated by loss aversion.
Meaning we hate losing things more than we like gaining things.
Exactly. Studies consistently show that the psychological pain of losing $10 is roughly twice as intense as the joy of finding $10. We are wired to avoid negative outcomes.
Yet in marketing, brands are terrified of sounding negative.
They are. They only want to paint a sunny utopian picture.
But if you only talk about success, your message feels weightless. It lacks urgency. You have to remind them what it costs to stay stuck.
You have to agitate the pain a little bit.
Like, use our service and save 20 hours a week. That's the success. Don't use our service and continue to drown in administrative paperwork, burning out your best employees while your competitors pass you by.
That is avoiding failure. It makes the choice incredibly stark.
So we've broken down this entire narrative psychology, all 7 steps. Let's move from abstract theory to concrete execution.
Let's do it.
How does this actually live in the wild? If we translate this to a website homepage, what does that blueprint look like?
Well, a homepage is the ultimate stress test of your messaging. If it's cluttered, they bounce. A highly optimized homepage maps this exact narrative arc from top to bottom.
So starting at the very top.
Right, in the very first section, the top of the fold, before anyone even scrolls, you need 3 things. A clear statement of the problem you solve, a glimpse of the successful outcome, and a direct call to action button. That's it.
No mission statements, no company history.
None of that.
Just, we fix this, you get this, click here.
Exactly. It has to be that simple. Then, as they scroll down, you expand the story. You introduce your brand as the guide. You showcase a few powerful testimonials to establish that empathy and authority we talked about.
And then you drop in the plan.
Yep. Further down, you outline the 3-step plan to remove the cognitive friction. And you pepper that direct CTA button throughout the entire scroll alongside a transitional CTA for those who aren't ready yet.
So by the time they reach the bottom, they have experienced a complete, persuasive narrative arc.
That's the goal.
I want to highlight a brilliant, tangible example of this in action from the source material. Squatty Potty.
Oh, such a great example.
It really is. It's a famously quirky product, right? A plastic stool for your toilet. But their marketing is a masterclass in this framework.
It really is.
Before they exploded in popularity, they could have easily made their website all about the invention of the stool, the specific injection-molded plastic, or the founder's journey.
Which would have been terrible.
Right. Instead, they strictly positioned the customer as the hero. They took a deeply relatable, somewhat embarrassing health issue, and they normalized it.
They absolutely did. They didn't sell a piece of plastic. They sold a better bathroom experience. They played the empathetic guide who understood a silent struggle.
And they gave a ridiculously simple solution. Just put your feet on this stool.
And they painted a very clear picture of success versus the discomfort of the status quo. It completely bypassed the awkwardness of the product because the narrative was entirely focused on the customer's relief.
It's brilliant, but the reality is this framework can't just be a shiny coat of paint you slap on your homepage, right?
Absolutely not.
Like if your website tells a beautiful story about the customer being the hero, but then that customer books a consultation, gets on a Zoom call, and your sales rep spends the first 20 minutes walking through a slide deck bragging about the company's recent awards.
The illusion shatters instantly. The friction is back.
Right. So how do you prevent that?
That is where the real work begins.
Yeah.
True narrative alignment has to permeate the entire culture of the business. It dictates how you write your email newsletters, ensuring every blast provides value to the hero's journey rather than just updating them on your internal company news.
Nobody wants to read your company newsletter about the new ping pong table.
Exactly. And crucially, it involves intensive team training. Everyone, from the marketing department to the customer service reps handling complaint tickets, needs to be operating from the same script.
Because if the customer service team doesn't act like an empathetic guide, the brand promise is broken.
It's a living, breathing strategy. You have to constantly review the data. If people are dropping off your website at the pricing page, maybe your stepping stones aren't clear enough.
Or if your emails have low open rates, maybe you aren't agitating the problem effectively enough in the subject lines.
You always have to look at the feedback loop and tighten the narrative.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? When you pull all these threads together, this StoryBrand framework is ultimately an exercise in radical empathy.
It really is. It requires you to check your ego at the door.
Yeah, it forces you to stop looking in the mirror and start looking out the window at the people you're actually trying to serve. You are the guide. They are the hero. And if you can simplify your message to reflect that truth, you will cut through the relentless noise of the modern world.
The real takeaway here is to look at your own communication today. Run an audit on your messaging. Are you asking your audience to care about your story, or are you inviting them into a story where they get to win?
That's a great question to ask.
Shift the spotlight.
Yeah.
Clarify the plan. Raise the stakes. It fundamentally transforms how a business operates.
I want to leave you with a completely different way to look at this. We've spent this entire time talking about marketing, websites, and sales. But if this framework is just based on how the human brain processes information and ego, what happens when you apply it to your personal relationships?
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. Next time you are trying to convince your spouse to adopt a new budget or trying to get your kids to clean their room, run your argument through this filter. Ask yourself in this conversation, am I demanding that they act like a supporting character in my heroic quest for a clean house?
Wow. Yeah, that changes things.
Or am I acting as a guide, helping them solve a problem and clearly outlining the stakes? If you're making it all about yourself, you've already lost the plot. Make sure you don't do the same. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.